I think right now I'm just super excited about sharing my heart.
So the last time was in 2015, and how was that experience for you?
It was wonderful. I mean, Montreux is so magical and there's so much history here, so I was overjoyed to be here. I'm really thrilled to be back.
Yeah. Back just in time for your new album, which was released this year in March, Petite Afrique. Can you tell me a bit more about what inspired the album?
Sure. Petite Afrique is actually sort of a name, like as a corner of Harlem in New York City, the neighborhood Harlem, that is predominant. It's mostly populated by a large West African community that's been there for about 40 years. I really just wanted to honor their legacy, their contribution to the neighborhood. People talk about Harlem, and they talk a lot about, the Renaissance and all of these wonderful, incredible voices and artists who've come out of that neighborhood. But especially now, Harlem is being gentrified. So the makeup of the people is changing dramatically. It's becoming a very expensive neighborhood. And you're seeing sort of the erasure of a lot of the people who've been there for generations. And so that really breaks my heart in a way, because I think that there are some places, I think Harlem would be one of those neighborhoods that there should be certain kind of cultural integrity that's always kind of honored and kept intact. But one of the things that I found was happening when people talk about gentrification of Harlem, they weren't really acknowledging the Africans that were a part of the Black community that was disappearing. And as a child of immigrants myself, it was really important for me to acknowledge them, to just sort of try to share their stories and their humanity. Obviously, when I wrote this album, I didn't realize how politically charged it would be to talk about immigration. And I'm thankful that I can use music and my platform in whatever way to give voice and agency to immigrant peoples who might otherwise feel under attack.
Yeah, and you actually did give them a voice. In your song "Black Enough," there's kind of like a soundbite of someone talking about this issue. Was that taken from you talking to someone? Was that like a real life situation?
Absolutely. Yeah, I spend a lot of time there. A lot of the African people who are there are mostly working class community. I've lived in the neighborhood for about 10 years, and a number of the men are taxi drivers. And so I would spend a lot of time sort of collecting what I call backseat field audio, just asking them their experience, asking them what it was to come to Harlem, what was Harlem in the 1980s, and so the person that actually is on Black Enough, because there's another little interlude called "Go Back to Your Country," but the one in Black Enough, he is the child of one African American, one African man, and so he kind of had this set perception of being from both worlds, and his idea of Harlem is a very romantic one, I think, and I mean real for him, but very romantic for many others who don't see any kind of divide between the African and African American community. And I just thought it was a really beautiful kind of reflection on the neighborhood. But yes, so his audio was a sample from like hours of conversations with taxi drivers in the back, just trying to get perspective of what their experience was.
One last question, just in reference to your performance in Montreux. Are there any kind of artists that you're excited about meeting up tonight?
I don't know. I think right now I'm just super excited about sharing my heart, and hopefully if I have the opportunity, because sometimes the festivals, there are all these lineups and everybody's incredible, but you can't actually get a chance to see them because of other things you have to do around the show. I did have the good fortune of seeing Grace Jones live last night. So that
was amazing,
yeah,
wasn't she?
She was. That was truly inspirational. Yeah. So that was a highlight.
Thank you so much for the conversation.